issue after issue that he's put out there, everything that I'm a, quote, property tax cheat, which is absolutely false. I don't know how you can be a property tax cheat. When you catch an error, report it to the county auditor. The county auditor puts a note in the file that says the error is not the taxpayer's error, but this office's error, and puts something in the file that says the taxpayer has paid on time every bill ever submitted. I don't know how that makes me a property tax cheat, quite frankly. Never applied for homestead property tax. It was given to me by mistake, and I caught the error and made them correct it. I paid back taxes that they said I didn't have to pay, and yet somehow I'm a property tax cheat. You know, he wants to say that I don't show up for work 66% of the time. An amazing statistic. Kind of how they keep numbers in Washington, I think.
Some of Obama's campaign advisors.
Perhaps. By the way, just so you know, on that 66%, when I said, "So help me God," in 2007 and became state treasurer, I was immediately on 13 different boards and commissions. Many of them, I'm not even a voting member on those boards or commissions. But when that board or commission was formed by the state legislature, the legislature said, let's see, they need somebody to keep the books. Let's have the state treasurer do that. So the state treasurer, more specifically the state treasurer's office, was assigned to that task. The first year I was in office, I went to the meetings. Again, I don't vote in the meetings. I would read the treasurer's report. You know, you have cash on hand of this much, so much in assets, so much in liabilities, and then I'd sit there for 2 hours. And I decided that was not a good use of my time. So I decided to do exactly what the governor does, what the lieutenant governor does, what all the other statewide office holders do, which is to say, if it's not worthy of my time, I will assign someone in writing from my office to attend the meetings and give the bookkeeping reports. When you add up all of their attendance, plus the attendance of the meetings that I go to where I do have votes, it's 99%. It's a horrible, well, I won't put that value judgment. The record speaks for itself. I know some of you have heard me talk of the Chrysler case a few years ago. In fact, many of you who were here at the Tea Party, that's the first time you ever heard my name. Because I was asked to speak and tell you about the Chrysler bankruptcy and how I stood up for the retired teachers and retired state police officers who had their money looted in an unconstitutional, unfair way that ultimately took us to the United States Supreme Court. Mr. Lugar says I shouldn't have bought those junk bonds. By the way, I have a question for you. Let's just pretend for a moment. I have some bonds to sell you. I have some junk bonds. I have some speculative bonds. And I have some high yield bonds. Which ones do you want to buy? You're ineligible, by the way. What are you going to buy? High yield. Yeah, sure. High yield. They're all exactly the same thing. It's the same piece of paper. Different people call them different things. You know, he wants to say, I shouldn't have made an investment in a company as risky, as dangerous as Chrysler. But he voted to bail out the car companies, so he thought you should own the company. In other words, he didn't think I should take that risk on for the people that I represent, but he thought it was okay for you to take the risk. I find that an amazing, amazing reaction. All that being said, get ready, because it's going to get worse. And please transmit that to your friends and to your neighbors.
What you're talking about from Senator Lugar, where you are going to cut our Social Security benefits next year, $2,500.
You know, now he's campaigning like a Democrat. Yes, that one was shown to me just the other day, just last night, in fact. And let me talk to that. You know, what I have said, and I've said this. In fact, my Democrat tracker is here. She is here so often. And I don't know how many times you've videotaped me saying this, but I know you've got this infinite times. I'll have you give the speech at this point.
I could actually.
I'm sure you could. I'm sure you could. You know, I believe government makes a fundamental social contract with its people. And I believe today, for anyone who's over the age of 55 today, that the promises they've been given by Medicare, the promises they've been given and that they've worked their entire career under with Social Security must be kept. It is immoral for government to break promises. And where Mr. Lugar comes up with this $2,500, I have absolutely not a clue, because I have said that from day one. I do believe for those who are today between the age of 50 and 55 and 45 and 50 and 40 and 45, we need to start communicating to them that there's a new promise. I think it is immoral to make promises you know you cannot keep. And when we're telling people, you're going to get, if you're 25 years old today, you're going to get the same thing you've seen your grandparents get, it's not going to happen. And it's immoral to say that. You know, and these things are not unrelated to Social Security and the economic issue. You know, the only way we're gonna pay down our debt, the only way, it is not raising taxes, it is not devaluing our money, the only way we get out of this mess is to grow our economy. It has to be done. And despite all that you just heard me say, and maybe even the tone of my voice in saying it, I'm an optimist. I do believe the glass is half full. You know, I love the old quote of Ronald Reagan. Of course, we have every right to dream great dreams. We are Americans.